Hello, hello. Hola. ¿Sí? Sentaos, por favor. Have a seat, please. Okay. So, bienvenidos. Welcome to this gathering organized by SEC Labs, as well as Emerge Education, the best early ticket in Edtech in Europe, as they say. So really glad to have you join us, especially I know there's some interesting content downstairs, but hopefully ours will be more interesting and more fun. So we've got quite the agenda today. Let's see. We're going to start out by, first of all, talking about SEC and investing in Spain. So Felix is going to, you probably all know Felix, he's going to tell us about the situation here in España. And then Sami from Emerge is going to follow and talk a bit about their investment thesis and what they're seeing in the European ecosystem. After that, we're going to take a deep dive into their research on investing in AI and Edtech, which they published recently. And then we're going to have a founder panel with 5 founders, all at very sort of different stages in their journey, that are going to share their experience. After that, we have a panel by AWS, and then we're going to follow with some roundtables and networking. So we actually set aside a whole hour for you to get to know each other. You'll have the opportunity to meet other founders, some of the inspiration that you have, they've shared with you earlier, as well as investors who are here. There's quite a selection of both Spanish and international VCs here. So that's the plan. Any objections? We're good? All right, let's get going, because there's a lot of ground to cover. Felix.
Is it my time?
I think so. This is you. Edtech on fire. I know that's you.
Yeah. That's mine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Edtech is on fire. Still is on fire. People say, you are crazy. 8 years ago, when we launched the Edtech Accelerator here in Spain, we were the first one. We have wide acid rocket accelerators in Spain. But education is something special, so we have to take special care because it's quite difficult to enter to schools, universities. They don't want to innovate. So for that reason, we create this accelerator with 6 months program with beta testing. In these 9 years, we accelerate 100 companies, but we look for, or we analyze 600 companies, not only in Spain, also around the globe. And let's talk, how is the panorama here in Spain? Where is the money? Show me the money. So 2020 was crazy, but 2021 was amazing. So more than 2.5 million only in Europe invested in Edtech companies from VCs, not counting public funding, for example. 2022, we go down to 2 billion, and last year, 2.2 billion. But we show more resilience than the rest of the markets. For example, better than the US, better than Asia. So Europe is still maintaining some resilience in investment, and also more than 300 transactions in Edtech around Europe. But what is Spain in this scenario? We have 400 Edtech companies once a year. In 2020, I was worried in the summertime, and I just decided to count how many Edtech companies there are in Spain. There were around 300. And now this year, I counted 400 Edtech companies in Spain. Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia, Malaga, Basque Country, in every single category that you can imagine. Obviously to learn English, STEAM capabilities, social, soft skills, whatever. And these companies, last year, they raised close to 100 million euros. We have Innovamat, they raised 20 million. But the year before, in 2022, Odilo, they raised 60 million. Was the most amazing round in Edtech in Spain. But also we have Lingo Kids or companies or Genially that they raised 7, 10, 12 million euros. So we have companies just playing in the Premier League. Yes, we are in the Premier League. We are in the top 5 for the last 2 years, competing with France. We were very close last year, so close to France last year. And now Austria, with GoStudent, is always winning on this 4th position. And UK is always leading UK. France, always 2nd position. Germany also is in this top 5. Netherlands, René, also we have some companies from Netherlands, on Denmark. But as you can see, Spain maintains stable, 80 million each year. And now this first quarter, I counted 8 million euros raised by Edtech companies in Spain. If you want to know everything about investment in Europe, go to my friends Bright Ventures. Why? Because international investors, they are investing in edtech companies from Spain. Private ventures, they have in their portfolio 6 edtech companies from Spain. Shakers, Ironhack, Twenix, Genially, the Board MBA, Academy. Rich Capital in the US, they invest in Innovamat and Lingo Kids. Odilo, they take money from different funds, GP and Swan Lab, Israel, Spain. Sparkmind in Finland, they invest in small tech from the Basque Country. Genially also, they raised money in several funds. GP, All Ventures in the US. And also we have, it's international, but it's based in Spain. All Iron, they invest in also 6 companies. What they do, most of them, they make B2C, but GameBlair is B2B. Ironhack also in this area. So as you can see, we are sexies to the international investors. And what about the Spanish investors? We don't have still, like France or like UK, a vertical investment fund. But, for example, Active Venture Partners, they invest in Edtech. GME invest in Edtech, Inverready, Drepers B1, Swan Lab, Seaya, Kibo. All these guys, they don't put focus, but they have some Edtech companies in their portfolio, 1, 2, or 3. And also the good news is that because education is the best area or the best vertical, like health, for example, social impact, also we have social impact investors. So these are the good news. See, Edtech companies can raise money from VCs and also from social impact investors. In Spain, we have 4 really active. Fondo Bolsa Social, they start with crowdfunding, crowd lending, crowd equity, and now they have a fund. We have CREAS, they were pioneers in Spain, investing in social impact. And also we have Ship2B in Barcelona and global social impact investments. So sounds that there is money. And a big picture of France, UK, and France. UK always, obviously, 1,000 Edtech companies. France, 800 companies. Spain plus Portugal, 500 companies. Number of schools, 25K schools in UK. Spain, we have 33K schools. And how many students? Around 8 million students in K-12 for a population of 47 million inhabitants. Always UK, France, Germany, we are on the top 200 ranking that builds Holland IQ. I also recommend follow Holland IQ because they map all the startups around the globe. And what else? A few promising companies, Odilo, Lingo, Open Classroom, Multiverse from UK, Bliview, Perlego, Learnosity from Ireland. These are the top on these markets, France, Ireland, UK, and Spain. And this is my part, just to give him the point of view of Spain. So let's follow with my neighbors in the UK. Please, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix, indeed. It was only a few weeks ago that Felix and I began to talk about putting this event on. And it's because we want to invest more in Spain and Latin America. But the strength of Felix's network, how much energy he's put into making this happen has been extraordinary. So we must thank Felix for putting on today. And we're here to support that very much so. So, thank you, Felix. Many people know about Emerge. We're Europe's leading pre-seed and seed edtech investor. Yes, we've been around for 10 years. Yes, we've made 83 investments. And yes, our companies are going on to great things. But over the last 10 years, I've met thousands of founders. And the most important thing I want to hear first is like why they do what they do. What makes them tick? What makes them want to spend 7, 8, 10, 15 years building their company? It's hard building an edtech. So where does that passion come from? And to share that story back with you, our passion, what we're united by here, is a passion to democratize access to opportunity. So let's take me. My grandfather was one of 16 children. He grew up in the East End of London in absolute poverty. As a result, my dad was a truck driver, and standing in front of you is a first-generation university student. First in my family to ever go to university. If that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be stood here today. I wouldn't have had a career in finance. I wouldn't have been a startup founder with an exit, and I wouldn't be an investor, all because I was given access to that opportunity. The whole of the team have similar stories. Mario from Bosnia, Jan from Cologne, Zara from Pakistan, Sami here from Cyprus. It's like everybody on the Emerge team has an education backstory, and it makes us really care about achieving success through our founders to democratize access for millions of learners every year. Now, Sam is going to talk about this in a second, but I think in summary, the entire day, this slide isn't needed. All we've heard all day is how much higher education is being disrupted, how much the workforce is changing because it's moving to hybrid, how learning is changing. And Hector, who's moving now, said to me in an earlier session in a question, is like, you can't just allow your kids to go to school, you have to take responsibility for their learning. So across all these sectors, parents have never wanted to spend more time thinking about and investing in their kids' education outside of school. The workplace has never spent more time thinking about how they can put learning in the center of the agenda. HR people were 15 years ago at the bottom of the pyramid. Now they're at the top of the pyramid, often in the C-suite. And we know how much higher education is being changed. The key point is that globally, EdTech founders are born in Europe and they scale globally. But Amanda, one of our venture partners, Mike Damiano from Coursera, Bernard from Busuu, one of our venture partners, they're all part of scaling companies that are born in Europe but then go global. And you've only got to look at these companies here to realize how many brilliant European companies are being born in Europe and then achieving global success. And when you meet investors, the key thing to do is not to be geographically locked or curriculum locked, is to make sure you're addressing a global market from day one. The secret sauce for us, we only do pre-seed and seed. And I had my own technology startup in mobile technology back in 2003. If you look at how far I went in the first 5 years versus the second 5 years, it's a little bit embarrassing. I could have gone so much further with so much bigger exit if only I'd known what I'd known in the first 5 years that I learned in the second 5. And we believe that actually you need to give that knowledge to founders in their first 5 years. So we surround our founders with knowledge from those who've been there before. Our venture partners, we've got 105 of them. Anything from Rob Cohn from 2U, from Dennis Yang to Kirsten from Busuu. So all these are EdTech founders with exits. They're learning leaders at universities, and they're HE, COHROs, and they all give advice to our founders. Yes, they help us with DD. Yes, they help us with deal flow, but the most important reason they're there is because they can provide customer access and advice to our founders to succeed, and that's been an absolute magic source for us. Hear from our founders. I mean, yes, we measure our portfolio score, but quickly in the room, there's like, how many in the room are EdTech founders? Okay. Keep your hands up, okay? Keep your hands up if you've raised any round of funding. Okay? Keep your hands up if you've raised seed funding. Keep your hands up if you've raised Series A funding. Okay, so there we go. If you've raised Series B funding. Series C, beyond. Okay. So we've got a room of pre-seed, seed, and just before Series A founders, which is brilliant. And so you're at the very beginning of your journey, and we'd love to talk to you and help you guys. And as you know, later on, we've got 12 VCs here who want to meet you and talk to you guys today to help understand where you are and hear how we can help you be successful. And then in a nutshell, so we're pre-seed and seed. Our check size is half to 2 million. You know, we always lead with 60 to 80% around leading room for angels and other investors. We really make sure we focus on the value add surrounding our companies with those that have been there before. We focus 80% of our investments in Europe and 20% rest of the world. Okay, traction, we invest at the earliest stage. We've invested on paper up to like 3 million of ARR. So no idea is too early to come to us. And as you see from our sectors, parents of young kids, students and formal-led employers. But I think, as you've heard from today, the big message for me is that EdTech is changing. It's like, it's no longer EdTech. It's like EdTech in FinTech, EdTech in MedTech. It's being blended with everything. As I often say to people, if Notion was invented now, it would be 50% education and 50% productivity. It's the era of human potential. Okay, thank you very much for that intro. And I'm going to hand to Sami to go through some of our deep research.
Hey everyone, great to be here. I'm Sammy, I'm an associate at Emerge. I joined 7 months ago. Before that I worked for 6 years in consulting at Gorillas, the quick-com grocery startup, and at Uber. The last 4 years alongside that I've been on the board of 3 primary schools in London, and that's an experience that sort of really opened my eyes to how education's fundamentally very challenging and there's a lot of problems to solve. So I joined Emerge to try and solve some of those problems by investing in the great companies of tomorrow, which many of you are here today, so that's really exciting. I'd like to take you through some of Emerge's thinking around the role of AI in EdTech. So zooming out for a second, if we look at the scale-up and unicorn companies created in EdTech over the last 25 years, you can see that they come in 4 sort of distinct waves of innovation. So wave 1 was education SaaS, companies like Degreed and Blackboard. Wave 2 was marketplaces and content businesses, companies like Coursera and Go1. And wave 3 was tech-enabled services, companies like Trilogy, Multiverse, and Guild. And then the wave we're in now, the 4th wave, is AI-powered learning. And at Emerge, that's where we're seeing most of the super exciting companies fit into. And as a fund, it's where we expect to deploy the majority of our capital over the next 3-year fund cycle. And that's because we see AI as the next big opportunity for education. So the current EdTech unicorns of today have high scale but low efficacy because they miss the human touch element that AI can now provide. So we believe the EdTech unicorns of tomorrow have high scale and high efficacy powered by AI. And that's super exciting because it really democratizes access to opportunity. So someone can now have access to hyper-personalized one-on-one tutoring, which we know is a far more effective way of learning, whereas previously that was unavailable to them through cost and other prohibitive factors. So at Emerge, we've sort of broken this down, and we've come up with 8 key AI-driven EdTech trends, which we're calling engines of opportunity. Now, they fit into 2 sort of macro trends, making learning more engaging and making work and teaching more efficient. So underneath making learning more engaging, we have robo-teachers, always-on feedback, hyper-personalized content, and simulation-based learning. And under making work and teaching more efficient, we have democratized authorship, AI-enabled knowledge graphs, automated assessment, and educator co-pilots. Now, these represent where we see AI impacting education both today and in the future. And across these 8 different subcategories have attracted almost $1 billion in VC funding over the last 12 months. But as you'd imagine, it wasn't evenly distributed. So we've dug in a bit further, and we've done an analysis of 456 AI EdTech startups in Europe and 32 EdTech incumbents, which in some way or another have incorporated AI. We've then come up with a hotness score for each of our 8 engines of opportunity. Now, this hotness score is a function of the number of early-stage startups operating in that engines of opportunity, the amount of funding flowing into those startups in the last 12 months, Emerge's own interest in the investment theme, and then the incumbent's perceived ability to act quickly and capture value in the space, making it a less exciting category for startups to thrive and make big businesses. And so what we've got here is each of our 8 engines of opportunity ordered by that hotness score. And on a column level, you can see the components of the hotness score, which is driving their positioning on the table. Now, we've got AI-enabled knowledge graphs at the top, right through to simulation-based learning at the moment. I'll go into this in a bit more detail in a second, but to point out, this is very much a representation of where the early hype in AI has landed. So early applications of AI are in text generation, which lends itself to helping teachers create course materials for their classes, aka educator co-pilots, which is second on this list, or powering digital teacher avatars, which is aka robo-teachers, which is third in this list. Conversely, many of the lower scoring engines of opportunity actually represent more complex applications of AI in education. So think of AI-powered feedback of learner progress, which is a more complex sort of problem to solve, aka always-on feedback, which is lower down, 6 on this list. So just to sort of iterate, this is very much where we see things happening at the moment, based on where the early hype in AI has landed. But we still think there can be very exciting, large companies sort of coming out of those lower categories, but they're just difficult to solve for at the moment. So looking at Spain in particular, the hottest category is robo-teachers. Sort of highlighted some AI robo-teacher Spanish startups there. I'm sure there's loads more, so if you're building there, then please come and find me later on. Now, in the full deck, we then have a slide for each of our 8 engines of opportunity, broken down into subcategories, of which there's 29, with example companies and further commentary against each of those. I'll send that round at the end in interest of time to everyone in attendance here today. So to wrap up with 3 key takeaways for AI EdTech founders. Firstly, we're still in the very early stages. So that $1 billion in VC funding over the last 12 months I mentioned earlier is a drop in the ocean compared to that which is flowing into generative AI on a more global macro scale. And we haven't really seen any huge breakouts in AI EdTech to date, so it's still all to play for. Secondly, are you building a feature, a product, or a company? Generally speaking, over the last 12, 18 months, we've seen incumbents act pretty fast to incorporate AI in their products, and in some cases, releasing new features that were the premise of entire cohorts of VC-funded startups. So where we see the huge companies coming from is where you fundamentally challenge the incumbent's business logic, giving you that head start which you can translate into competitive advantage before the incumbent can catch up with you, allowing you that chance to build that unicorn. And finally, and arguably most importantly, it takes a lot to make this work. So AI is sort of in a place now where it's relatively easy to extract quick value from. But to solve for the edge cases, overcoming hallucination, bias, solving for privacy concerns, and ultimately building products that are really impactful to the end user and learner, requires depth of expertise across tech, pedagogy, content, and assessment. So there's a lot of noise out there with those early quick wins of AI EdTech startups, but to build something that's really impactful and long-lasting is very challenging. So just to sort of wrap up, we're definitely really excited to speak to all of you this evening. Anyone building across each of those 8 engines of opportunity or beyond in EdTech, really looking forward to speaking to you later on this evening and hearing more about what you're building. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now it's time for the founders. If you're one of the invited founders, please come up. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. American joke. Ben, who else do we have? I don't know you all, so identify yourselves.
We are missing Elena that is pitching in the competition and also
Oh, okay, well.
But we have more volunteers if you want.
Up to you. Belen. And a +1, I see. Okay. I think this is good. We only have 10 minutes, and this is good. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a speed date because originally we we're only going to have 2 founders, but there's some really interesting stories here, I think, among this group. So what I'm going to ask each of you is to identify yourself. What is the company that you have built, and what do you do? Okay. The second part is to tell us where you're at in your growth journey, and I think we have a variety here. And finally, and this is the juiciest part, what is one big challenge that you've had to deal with and hopefully overcome as a founder? Okay, so we want to know. Yeah. All right, so let's just go from this end to that end, and I'll let you start, okay? Name, please, first.
Okay, well, hi, nice meeting you all. I am Pina de Paz. I am CEO and co-founder at Kimpo. We scale innovation in schools. We help schools to include on an easy way, Kimpo comes from Keep It Simple, new content and new methodologies in their classrooms. So we try to reduce the current methodological gap that is in the schools, because for schools innovate alone is very difficult and very, well, practically impossible. So it was who we are? Where we are? Okay, so we are currently facing our scaling phase. For that purpose, we are trying to close our second fundraising. I always say we overcome the first 3 years of developing a project, a B2B project in Spain and in Latin American education, which I believe is the hardest part of B2B EdTech now, is to create or generate first customers, maintain them, which is not the same, no? Create them, then maintaining them, and to be alive for the first 3 years in the market. And we are present. We have 58 school customers in Spain, mainly in Spain, and some of them in Latin America. And we are now starting our scaling phase. trying to grow up to 200 schools in the next year. I believe that the main challenge in this sector is definitely fundraising on seed stages, mostly for educational projects, taking into account as well that conversion times and conversion rates are slower and many times lower in general than in other areas. No? So, I believe the most challenging, the biggest challenge we are facing, and we've always faced, is to make funds and investors to understand the market and to be a little bit more patient with the return, and to find funds on seed stages. There are funds on pre-seed and there are funds on A stages, but very few on seed stages.
Thanks. I'm Benjamin. I am CEO and founder of LearnLight. We aim to build understanding, empathy and connection between people from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds so that they can perform well in the global business marketplace. And we do that through language, intercultural and interpersonal skills training. We're a little bit further down the road in the journey, so I guess we're Series C or Series D now. So we're now a global company. We deliver in 192 different countries. And talking about challenges, because it's been obviously a fairly long journey since then, we are in the B2B enterprise sales space, so all of our clients are corporate clients. One of the toughest challenges I've faced is building a global enterprise sales team. So coming from originally, this is, by the way, a Spanish startup, so fantastic. And going from that to globalizing the business and getting operations all across Europe and in Asia and in the US, et cetera, and learning how to do business in those different markets successfully and creating a global sales force as opposed to lots of regional sales forces that don't connect with one another. That's been quite a long journey, but it's been fascinating and really interesting. And just to back up what you said, which I think is really interesting, is the other thing is, like, especially with B2B and enterprise sales, like most of the time those sales cycles are quite long. So you need to make an investment, you create a team in a new geography. You don't always get it right the first time, and maybe 2 of the 3 of the people you hired weren't the right ones, and you've got to come back. So by the time you get a return, like, that can literally be years before you see that really delivering a tangible return. Then, of course, it's fantastic after that. So again, I would back up and say patience from investors when we're building B2B would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And Ben, is this on?
Yeah.
That is struggling to get those first enterprise clients? Because I know that's a real challenge.
Well, that's really interesting. I think one piece of advice I can give from how I began was to bring them in a little bit also on the product development journey. So to bring them in as partners and say, hey, look, I'm trying to build something that's going to be relevant for healthcare, or I'm trying to build something that's going to be relevant for K2, and your expertise would be super interesting. And you get them involved in the journey so they feel that they're participating and you're actually building something which is to a certain extent for them. And then that could hopefully get you your first flagship clients. And once you've got 2 or 3 of those, then you can, of course, go to all the other clients in the sector and say, hey, do you know we work with this and this, and perhaps you'd like to hear what we're doing. So bringing them in early and making them feel that they're participating in the research, development, and piloting of the project, rather than going in immediately with a sell, has been really useful for me.
Okay, thank you. Nacho.
Hi, I'm Nacho from Wola. Wola is the leading study platform in Spain. We have more than 1.7 million students in the last 12 years. Our vision is to be the Twix for education in a peer-to-peer model that connects the people that want to teach with the people that want to learn. breaking this old paradigm of one teacher talking with a group of students, but we believe that the study will be more social activity. And our most valuable asset is our community. Our best segment is a study in which we have the 70% students of university in Spain are in the platform right now. Our major innovation is that we place advertisement in the notes of students as GEF as a revenue model, as YouTube in the video, but applied to the study notes. And with this business model, we are close to profitability. And for the future, for next months, we are 100% focused on profitability. And then we will return to be international and to apply new business models on top of this advertisement platform. Most of them focus on AI and courses and tutoring and other ideas.
Are you bootstrapped or have you raised VC funding?
Yeah, I raised until this point like 7 million, more or less. Between 5-7 million in different rounds.
From local VCs or international?
Local VCs, all. Yeah. Our idea is, our main challenge was to change our mind because we at the beginning, we start to be international, or we have the idea to become international earlier, but the status of the market tells us it's better to be profitable in Spain before go abroad. And our idea is to go abroad with a solid business model in next months or next year.
Congratulations.
So the main challenge was to change the company for this growth mindset to this profitability, but then we will still growing and go abroad.
I'd like to dig into that a little more. What was the hardest thing about that for you?
To focus on efficiency in operations, because it's a challenge, as he just says, to open country and to be a sales international team, but to efficiency the current team, the current sales team, all the processes to be profitable is a challenge, and you need different profiles of these growth profiles.
I always like the expression, what got us here won't get us there, no?
Yeah.
And as you grow, it might not be the same team that you had at
Yeah.
the beginning, no? And
Yeah.
I can imagine that's difficult to deal
Yeah,
with as
so
a
the
founder.
challenge is to change the mindset and to change the processes with the same company.
Thank you, super interesting.
Hi, everyone. I'm Belén Cabido. I'm from LifeCole, founder and CEO. And LifeCole, it's the way that we see new technologies from kids. So 4 years ago, I was so worried about the education of our kids. And now that I'm pregnant, but because I'm pregnant, I'm not fat. I'm more conscientious that we have to change the way that we see the new technologies at school. So what we do, it's a platform that we teach kids from 6 to 16 years old how to use the video games development, robotics, coding, and also design multimedia. And what we do, it's very focused in B2C right now. Our goal or challenge is start to be part of the B2B schools. And we are right now launching a platform and SaaS to offer our courses in schools. And we start 4 years ago. We have more than 2,000 students. We have, for me, a good goal of OKR or KPI. It's like we have 3% of churn month over month. One of the challenges is the summer, because our courses start in September and finish in June. We try that the people or the students that they start with us on 2021 continues with us. The 30% of the students that they start in 2021, they continue. What we are looking for is to be profitable, and we are very close to the profitable. But what I think that it's used to confuse us like an entrepreneur is we want the scalable of the company, the growth of the company, or the profitable company. So right now we are a team of 25%, and we have a GMV around 1.5 million. I don't know if you have any questions.
I have lots of questions, but I guess the first one would be to answer the question about your biggest challenge.
Okay, my biggest challenge, I think,
Past or present?
I don't know. My present is, I don't know. I think there's two. The first one is how to change the mind of the parents, because there's a huge problem with the screen time, and we are very focused in a complicated target, because there are kids from 6 to 16, and parents doesn't want the screen time. And we have to change the mind of these parents to see and to let them know that new technologies are here to help and to change this mind. And for example, I'm very worried about the future of my kids, because we live in a world very competitive, and I think one of the questions or one of the things that we have to change is learn people or teach kids that the future is in new technologies and how they work. So we have to create this need in the parents, and so that's so complicated.
Well, maybe there's another startup in there for someone in the room.
And the second one, it's how to scale quickly. I think Path told us before, that's my second company. I launched my first company in 2015 in Mexico City. It's a marketplace that we sold nothing about education. It's more about secondhand clothing. And we scaled so quickly because it's a huge market, and we did have a huge community. And if I compared what I did in this company and how I have to put the money in this new company, it's more complicated, because the cost of the CAC or recurrency or whatever, it's more complicated to scale this kind of product. And education, I think it's something that you have to think a lot. And for me, buy something for 12 euros is not the same where I put my kid from the next few years to learn. So LifeCall is a platform that it's a subscription, and you have to stay less than 1 year, and after we want that progress the student with us, and at the cost of the opportunity is huge, no? So I think this is all.
Super interesting. Just one more little talk. We're going to stop talking at you and let you talk to each other, which is really, I think, what this is all about. Felix? Special guest? That's cool. That's you, I think, so you can take your seats again. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Amanda. I have two special guests. Edtech is on fire thanks to AWS. Where is Víctor Ramos? Please come. And also Fernando Valenzuela, el padrino del Edtech in Latin America, the good father of Edtech in Latin. Is my big brother. Please, have a seat. Be comfortable, you will stay only for 5 minutes. So, AWS is one of my best partners because it's one of the cloud companies that support best Edtech companies. 50% of the Edtech companies or more, they are flying with AWS instead of other companies. I'm not going to mention these companies. And also, they don't have Edtech products. So they don't sell to schools or universities. They sell the Edtech startups in their portfolio. So, but for that reason, we are friends. So, well, Victor, tell us what is doing AWS in Spain for Edtech startups. And also, if you want to show us some case studies from AI in higher education, that is the topic for today.
Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to you all. Something that is very special is what you said. We don't position our solution for higher education or any education customers from AWS. We push for edtechs to build their own solutions. I think that's our biggest value proposition is we provide infrastructure and all the tools for the edtechs to innovate and build the solutions that are required by the customers. So we have a program that is called Activate, in which startups at early stages, we provide all the mentorships, we provide funds, we provide support with MVPs, and we help them with all the go-to-market because we are very close to all the end customers, and we build together what is the roadmap that a startup in education can build. So I think that's something that is very special on our value proposition from AWS. On the solution for higher education, and speaking on AI, as you said, basically we're seeing three trends. We have many edtechs who are already putting into production solutions for internal use within the universities. So how they're using AI to be more agile in their internal processes, whether it's a contact center where they have real-time suggestions to have a better experience for the students, how they support the teachers internally, where they can use GenAI to build their own content. If you want to build some content for 1 hour class through GenAI and some applications that we have, you can already build all the content. You have the summary, the evaluation, and everything ready for the teacher. And then we have other edtechs who are putting the effort on the student. How can we provide directly a different experience for the student, whether it's personalized learning or anything that is going to be supporting the student on the journey.
And tell me about your favorite edtech startups in Spain. Which companies you are proud of support these companies that they are growing? Good question, no?
It's a good question, but that's like asking a parent what their favorite kids are. Exactly. Thank you for that. There are too many. We're very proud that almost all the edtechs who go through SecLab at the end of the day work on AWS, so you can see the list. And you say 50%. We cannot provide official data, but it's much higher than that. So almost every edtech in Spain at some point is doing something with us, and we're very proud of that. I cannot name one, but let's say all of them, all the ecosystem.
Okay. And now it's time we start talking about edtech in Spain, in the UK, but what is happening in LATAM? So LATAM is the new Asia, so we don't hear about India or China. LATAM is beating, so Fernando, here you have one slide that you use at Best Show at the GEF Awards from Cecilia and Abby. So tell about the Latin market in edtech, please.
Thank you, Felix. I need to stand, but very proud to be here today. And I want to first give a shout out at the Latin American startups that are conquering Spain from Latin America. So Miguel, Andres, Federico are already making headway in Spain. So a little bit of Latin America. So Latin America is a large market, over 650 million population, very young population, another edtech from Latin America here. We are more similar than India or China. Within India and within China, you'll find more diversity than within Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking Latin America. So this is the challenge. In Latin America, what happens is that we have two languages mostly, Spanish and Portuguese. You don't do business in, let's say, Peru. You have to do business regionally. And for that, I use these maps to say everything in Latin America happens in 15 cities. So this is where the strategy really makes sense. You have to enter Latin America and operate in at least 3 cities in 2 different countries and become regional. most of the mistakes that happen in Latin America is that they try to go to either Mexico or Brazil, the large markets, and it's very difficult because they will consume all of the energy. So we have been trying to position Latin America in the world and the world into Latin America. We have the largest open innovation network. We have about 1,500 leaders. We have ambassador schools, ambassador universities, and we recently launched the Association of Ibero-American Edtechs, including Spain and Portugal, and we have a leader in each one of the 20 countries in the region. So if you want to be part of the ecosystem, there is a direct path towards that. So I think this is exciting news. I think Latin America is beginning to hit the, kind of the visibility, but we have a very, very serious challenge. We are one of the regions with most children that are not able to read and understand what they're reading in all of the world. So the challenge in education does not require competitors, it requires collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this nice message. And tell about a few, for example, Duolingo. What is this guy?
Oh, so Duolingo it's a very relevant entrepreneur that basically, one of the largest challenges that we have is language learning in Latin America. And so we have a few of these. Duolingo was recognized recently in San Diego for a Lifetime Achievement Award because of the impact that they're having on language learning around the world. So I think we have significant, mature talent in the region, significant technology-based solutions in education. So the problem is that we're still very far away from the traditional system. So Duolingo has an impact because it's going directly to the consumer. If Duolingo had to go through the schools, they would still be raising money.
Thank you. And now, big applause for my friends, these guys. And let's go with investors. Thank you. Show me the money, show me the money. No? ¿Los emprendedores o quién? Sí. No, les voy a invitar. I'm going to invite, because when we create this event, everybody says yes. So we have a problem. We can have 12 people here, so we break in two round tables, and we break in, let's say, two categories. Let's start with BAs, also with crowdfunding platforms like Startup Explore, and also with accelerators like Alberto. Alberto, do you want to come, please? Do you want to join us? Hugo from Creas Impacto. So we are going to talk with social impact investors. Please, come here. René, you are invited. Hugo from Creas, or someone from Creas, from Bolsa Social, as I mentioned before, one of the most active investors in social impact. Trastem is an accelerator, but also you have a phone, I think, so it's your place. And Patricia, please, what is Patricia? Please, Startup Explore. Also one of the pioneers in crowdfunding or crowd lending or crowd equity in Spain. So I think that was interesting. Invite them, because we are just positioning on the first step after the family, friends, and fools, then BAs, crowdfunding, accelerators. So we have here a good example of these first investors. So tell about Startup Explore, when you started, and also if you think about some edtech companies that get finances by your platform, please.
Okay. Thank you, Felix, in the first place, to have the opportunity to speak to you a bit about Startup Explore. So we are a crowd equity platform that was born in 2014, so we're quite grown-ups at this point. We funded 87 companies at this point, 22 million raised in aggregate, highest success rate in Europe, biggest investor pool in Spain, more than 45K, and growing by the day. And about me, deal flow and analysis manager here. yeah, and I think that was the question.
And the size of the tickets, how much
Tickets,
they are
yeah.
raising on average?
We raise from pre-seed to Series A, completely agnostic, pretty funded in Edtech, of course, social impacts as well, clean tech, climate, trendy right now. Yeah, and tickets up to 1,800K we're raising at the moment. So, yeah, and of course, funding companies within the European Union. That's
Okay, so Europe. The market is Europe
exactly,
right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Let's talk with Creas. Creas, as I mentioned, they were pioneers in social impact investment here in Spain. So tell about your traction until now, because we are opening new funds. So please, we want to listen to the good news.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Felix. So Creas is, as Felix said, the pioneer, one of the pioneers in impact investing in Spain. It was founded in 2008 as a foundation when nobody was talking about impact in Spain. It was a UK thing or a US thing. In 2011, we launched our first vehicle. It was a pilot fund of around 1.5 million, something like that. It was a successful pilot, and after that we launched the first institutional vehicle, impact vehicle in Spain in 2017, a 30 million vehicle that we fully invested in. We ended the investment period in 2023 with our last investment, and we are now fundraising for our second institutional fund with a 70 million target, and we are aiming for a first close around 35-40 million in the next, I won't say days, but weeks. We are a generalist fund. We have 3 verticals. Caring, it was more about healthcare and elderly care. We have a regenerating vertical. It's more about environment, climate tech, and third vertical one, which we are very fond of, which is empowering, related to education, Edtech, and labor tech, HR tech, and all the tech you want to add to anything related to empowering individuals for a better life. So we invest in Series A and beyond in companies with at least 1 million revenues. That's more or less our investment threshold. And in tickets between 1 and 3 million, that would be our sweet spot for the first ticket. But we could, we can follow on with new investments until 4 to 7 million, depending on the final size of our next fund. So happy to be here.
And also in the past, you have some exits in the past, good exits in mobility and other industries.
Yeah, from the previous fund, the pilot fund, it did pretty well. That's what pushed the founders and the rest of the team to launch the first institutional vehicle. But yeah, mostly in mobility, and yeah, that's.
Cool. Let's start with Alberto. Also, it's one of the most active entrepreneurs in the Edtech ecosystem here in Spain, also in San Francisco. So tell about how was born Trusted Network and what are you doing for this time?
Well, good to meet a lot of you, see a lot of familiar faces. First of all, I'm from Madrid, and there's not a lot of events like this in Madrid, so I just wanted to give a big thank you to Felix, to Amanda, to everyone who's contributed to putting this event together. It makes me really proud to see so many people coming from different parts of the world. I'm one of the co-founders of Trusted Network, and what we do is we run a fellowship for early stage tech founders. I see Jose, who was a fellow last year. I think I also saw Bernardo over there. So we have some fellows in the room, some LPs as well. We run a program for early stage founders in the Edtech space. It's a remote program, so these are founders from all over the world. We work with about 100 founders every year. And the goal is we're going to help founders find product market fit. So it's quite simple, but at the same time, very, very difficult. So we help founders run weekly product market fit experiments that will get them closer to product market fit, connect them with mentors and potential customers. And so That's what we do. About 2 years ago, we decided that we were in a really good position to be the first kind of, backer of a lot of these founders, because we had a lot of really good data and intel on these companies, and so raised a small fund. We write about 50K checks into companies that go through the fellowship. We're now just about to start to raise our next fund, so hopefully we can write slightly larger checks. And we're 100% global, so I'm based in Madrid most of the time, and my co-founder's in the US, but we work with founders from all over, so we'd love to meet any founders who are here and want to talk.
Also, tell me about these events that you organize once a year with Odilo after the SaaS Summit. You are preparing the next one?
Yeah, so I was waiting for all the energy to kind of to sort of come down after this event, everyone to be depressed, like, oh my God, we're so sad this event is over, to hit you all up with an email. But for anyone who's coming in June, there's South Summit, which is happening. It's a big tech conference. And so we usually partner with Odilo at the time and organize an event. I think this is going to be our 3rd year in a row. So for anyone who's here in June, you should definitely join us. It'll be a lot of fun, and you'll see a lot of the familiar Edtech faces there. So.
There will be space at the Odilo offices. There is not enough space, I think.
Yeah, we're running out of space.
We will try.
Yeah, every single time it gets a little bit more crowded. So, but yeah, for anyone who's looking to come to Madrid, looking for an excuse, June is a great excuse to come to Madrid. And if you need any recs in the city, I'm your guy. So.
And let's follow me, my friend René. He's from Netherlands, but he's Spanish. He came to Spain 25 years ago, I think. He launched 2 companies, 2 exits. And when I told about him about SecLab, he says, hey, I want to be mentor of SecLab because you don't make profit, you don't take equity. So he's mentor for the SecLab for the last 8-7 years. He's a good mentor because they make difficult questions to other startups at the first meeting, so they die at the first meeting. So they only stand 2 meetings, one at the beginning and 1 meeting at the end. And please tell about Don Quixote, your first startup. It was not an Edtech, but it was in education.
It was in education, yes.
And then let's start with your second part, when you start to invest like business angel.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Felix. My first company was Don Quixote, Spanish language courses in country. So in the end, I had 7 schools in Spain and 1 in Mexico, 13,000 students per year, and 250 staff. And I sold that in 2005. And that's when I started to invest in startups. I was afraid I would be at home and be bored, so I started a new company a year before I sold the first one, which was online marketing. And I did that from 2005 to 2015, and then sold it off. And that's when I started to invest full-time in startups. I only invest in Spain, because I'm a romantic. I want to go for lunch or dinner or have a beer, and then tell me where we can have a problem between now and a year, and give me the chance to help there. I get some 700 plans sent to me per year. I'm now invested in 29. I have no staff. It keeps me busy and off the street. And I go with the tickets, the first round between 20 and 200, and then I keep some money for follow-up investments. Because I only go in pre-seed and seed. So my due diligence is to look somebody in the eye and convince me, because there's nothing to be checked upon if there's not yet any sales.
And what have you observed during the last years working with SecLab? In which companies, what you saw, we see particular of this industry for the Edtech companies that we have seen?
Well, I think it's very good to have a vertical organization, because it's then easier to help each other. Because you come across similar challenges, problems. And also for the approach towards investors, it is now in Spain very difficult to know who is interested in investing in what. And so I saw that I'm here as ABAN, which is the Spanish Association of Business Angels Networks. And we're about to launch a campaign where we say, okay, who is a business angel who wants to be one? If you want to be one, then we'll show you where there is education available, both for free and paid. Not that we are doing that. And if you're already business angel, we ask you, let us know, tick the boxes, which sectors you might be interested in, primary interested and secondary interested. And then we can group the investors for education, a group of investors for agro, a group for travel. And that makes so much sense because then the people, they all come in supposedly with know-how and know-who, and co-investment is a great way to reduce risk. So I think that what you were doing is wonderful.
Thank you. You have questions from these guys? Entrepreneurs, you want to make questions to Crea, Startup Explorer, and Trustend? And Rene? No? Is it, yeah, perfect. Microphone here.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Nico, also founder. I wonder, what are the key technology trends that you, when you invest in, are looking at right now? And what are the biggest risks you see with technology trends at the moment?
Well, I can be quick. I don't know too much about it. So if anybody comes to me with a new technology, they have to explain it to me in a way that I can understand it. And then I'll see if there's a unique selling point, if there's a problem to be solved, money saved, and then we start talking. The only thing I can add is that with artificial intelligence, it's like the secret sauce, and then all of a sudden the startup is worth $1 million more because they have those 2 letters on the deck. So I think that calls for cautious at the same time.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel. Alberto, I just saw your website and what you do. I just wanted to understand what is the motivation for you to build something like that. And then for the panel in general, I'm kind of new into this Edtech and all of the startup world. I just want to understand how can you guys define what exactly is the Edtech? Because I saw some logos that was a bit shocking for me to see them as an Edtech. So if someone can explain me what do you call an Edtech for real? I'm coming from the fintech and insurtech industry, and I was seeing also a lot of companies just jumping and say, I'm an insurtech, and they have nothing to do with insurance. So I need to understand what is their relation. So it's kind of two questions. So the first goes to you, and the other one to anyone on the panel.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Emmanuel. I was looking around because there's a person in this room whose responsibility it is that I'm here in a way. So as I told you guys, I grew up like 15 minutes away from here. And the reason why I got into EdTech is because when I was 18, I was like, I don't know, I guess going through Facebook, and I came up on an ad or an article or something about a new university that was getting started at the time called Minerva. And it was a new university, very innovative. Like the idea was you go to a different city of the world every semester. You use technology to do all your classes online and enable like a kind of more of a Socratic method of learning. And so I applied. I didn't have any expectations. I got into this university. I was in the first graduating class of students. And it changed my life. It was an amazing experience, very impactful. And after I left, I didn't want to work on anything that wasn't EdTech. And the founder was here. So Ben, as the founder of Minerva, he flew from San Francisco, and I think he just went to take a call like maybe 10 minutes ago. So I'll have to tell him after. But yeah, so I think one of the things that I take from this experience that I had is that a lot of you might have interacted with EdTech a little bit later in your life, but I think there's a whole generation of people like myself who early in our lives, we had EdTech have a deep impact on our lives. And like, I think for me, it's like become my life mission to go and help other founders build EdTech products and experiences that will impact future Albertos. So, yeah. And I think there was another question about EdTech, if anyone wants to take it.
Definition of EdTech: innovation and education in every single step on your lifelong learning. So from 0 to 100 years old. And also the investors in the UK or France, the future of work also. They are opening EdTech to the future of work. So it can be companies like Hack, reskilling, upskilling, something that improves your life. This is EdTech. No, Cecilia?
Yeah, we always say that it's like the next step is taking education technology to the startup world. So it's really improving, as somebody said here before, improving quality of life through learning. So anything to do with learning can be, skilling for the future of work, can be helping kids very young, K-12, higher education, anything to do with learning, new technologies and entrepreneurship, we call it Edtech.
And as Nick says also, there's a mix. Health and education, sports and education. So there are many mixes, so this is cool.
It depends on the investor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please, thank you. And we are really on time, so this is perfect because we have a second track with bigger investors. So let's go to the Shark Tank with the VCs. Or later with the drinks and the, no? If they want to stand. Yeah. Let's give them 10 minutes to networking or 50. It will be agile, I think. Sorry? Let's make it in 20 minutes for this or 15. Sonia, please. We have 2 hours for networking later with at the rooftop, I think. No? Exactly, yeah. Let's meet the VCs. From Emirates, Nick, Sammy, Mike. We have Subi Capital, Jose came. I also have Pepe from GMEA Ventures and my friend Sonia from Kibo. She was an entrepreneur and then she go to the dark side. What you started, so everybody knows Emerge. So you know how it works. Let me see. What the founders want to know, as we saw before, the size of your tickets, and also if you want also to share some success stories, but mainly in which stage you invest, how much.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Pepe Villanova from GEF Ventures. So we're an early stage venture capital fund based here in Madrid and Barcelona. We do pre-seed, seed, and Series A deals, tickets that grow from 100K up to 2 million euros. I always tell entrepreneurs that we invest basically in everything. I mean, from digital native brands or companies that do coffee to companies that do rockets or quantum computing. So basically, we look for good founders in markets that we like. And yeah, I mean, we like education a lot. We did some investments like Odilo, Ironhack, Lingo Kids, Geniali, 20X here in Spain. So we just launched our 4th fund. So we are willing to add some names to that list, hopefully. And that's it.
But as you can see, they choose the future unicorns in Edtech, all of them. So Odilo, Ironhack, so good eye. Please.
Hi, I'm Mike Damiano. I'm an Emerge venture partner. I'm an advisor and angel investor. I've got about 3 decades experience in EdTech. I've started my own companies, but I've also led revenue teams for organizations like Blackboard, Coursera, and others. So with Emerge, I'm one of their venture partners that help them help their portfolio companies. I'll let Nick talk to deal sizes. My angel investment deal sizes are very, very low. So I advise an angel invest in about a dozen companies now.
Hi, I'm Sonia Fernandez. I'm a partner at GEF Ventures. We're a fund based in Spain. We are generalists, but we have a very strong interest in EdTech. We have invested in GameLearn, Odilo, and with our Fund 3, we are investors in Innovamat, which is a K-12 company really based on maths. And all of those investments, I take care of them. So I'm the Edtech person within Kibo. If you want to do that, you talk to me, more or less. We do initial tickets, anything from 1 to 5 million. And we're finishing the investment period of our Fund 3, and we're raising our Fund 4. So open for business as well as JME.
And Kibo, sorry, so it was in year 2008 or 11 when Aquilino and Jose?
Yeah, my partners, Aquilino and Javier, started Kibo in 2012 with our first fund. And I joined in 2016 with our second. Yep.
Cool.
I'm Jose Instal, and I'm responsible for Thubi Capital. I think we're mistakenly put here because we're actually impact investors. I mean, we only do impact.
Doesn't mind.
I mean, and we've got within our asset manager, we've got a multi-strategy approach. We've got a venture debt fund that actually invests in a bit of a later stages within companies. First Impact, and then we're agnostic in terms of the sector. So we look into Edtech, we look into FinTech, we look into everything pretty much. We just launched a venture capital fund with an edge. It's impact and it's DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we look, again, we're agnostic. We do early stage, pre-seed and seed, tickets from 250 to $500,000 first tickets, and then we do follow-ons. And then we'll be launching other strategies. That's Thubi Capital, but Thubi Group as a whole, we also have a venture builder. So we imagine the world in a different way, and we look to create companies that are catalytic in a way. And we do Edtech, we do circular economy, we do anything related to green energy, stuff like that. So that's another approach we have to make an impact. We put up to 2 million roughly on each founder or co-founder. We generally create the idea, or sometimes we bring someone who has an idea and we fund them from scratch, like with a PowerPoint, basically. So that's us.
And
what about the merits? What do
I do again? That's right. So just a reminder, we're pre-seed and seed, checks 500K to 2 million. We've been investing for 10 years. We focus exclusively on Edtech and future of work. We invest in Europe. We invest, like you guys, off PowerPoints all the way through to a couple of million of ARR. So it's often normally super early stage stuff. And we do 80% of your investments in Europe and 20% globally, which includes LATAM, like Kriana and Matilda as well. And we're super invested in European founders, helping them go global.
What else? What can I ask these guys, the Spanish investors? Do you want to ask? It's your turn just to ask them. Yeah?
There you go.
What do you know from Kibo, from GMEA, from Thubi?
Okay. What's the advice? I'd like to know the advice you give to Spanish startups. Who do you say to raise from next for your Series A? Do you ask them to focus on European founders, US founders, or elsewhere in terms of the next stage of their growth? And do you advise them to grow in Europe or globally from day one?
Well, we really look for founders that have a very global ambition from the beginning. So, and sometimes initially you would have thought it's more going to be Latin America. In our case, it hasn't been that way. Software companies has been more the US from the beginning, or even Europe. We have some companies, and especially the Edtech companies have been more LATAM expansion, but generally not so much. And in terms of investors, you were asking, I think it has to be a good fit. We have co-invested with a lot of international investors. You need to find, the right fit, and I don't know. Sometimes, it's a very competitive landscape right now. So, if you get a term sheet, take it. And, if you can choose, great. But no, I mean, I think, we spend a lot of time, just coaching and really making sure that they, are on the radar of the investors that they want to target, because otherwise it's very difficult to just show up and and land a term sheet. But it's, you know, they need to put the work.
I mean, a few things to add. I mean, I will personally say like an answer that I hate, which is it depends. But yeah, I mean, we try to imagine like what would be like the ideal path, fundraising path for each of those companies, and we try to coach, as Sonia said, like what would be like the ideal situation for each one of those companies to be at the moment when they are fundraising, and we do that by like talking to a lot of people that we know that invest right after us, and trying to tell the companies what those investors are going to expect from them.
And for me, I mean, it's a bit of a mix, pretty much the same thing. The difference is, given that we're impact, we try to maximize the impact we generate. Hence, we look for global people that have global ambition, because that's the way to generate the most impact for the most part. So that's one, and then we tailor-made or we try to help. We're very hands-on with all the companies. I mean, if we think about venture debt, our venture debt fund, where we don't sit on the boards, we're still helping them from day one to find the right path for funding, for making better sales, strategic decisions, everything. We get very much involved to help them out, because that's the only way to generate more impact. And then if we need to put them in touch with whomever, we do it. Our funds are, for the most part, pan-Euro. There's one we'll be launching soon that has to do with a very specific niche within healthcare, and that will be global. I mean, it has to be global, because otherwise it becomes too small, yeah.
Your turn.
My turn. As you mentioned at the beginning, Edtech founders now, more VCs on the room. There are more VCs on the room. And yeah, one question.
It's on one of the slides that you presented at the beginning. Requires depth of expertise across tech, pedagogy, content, and assessment. And I feel that's contradictory to the VC usual approach, which is focus on one thing, go deep, scale like crazy. And Edtech, going back to our fellow founders, we need to go quite wide, and it's pretty slow. So how do you balance these two things? Unless you're one of Coursera or one of these guys, if you really want to go deep into, because Coursera is not deep into content at all. So how do you balance these two things? That goes for with Edtech.
I'll give a quick answer, then pass it along. I think the most fundamental thing that when you meet a founder and they're building an Edtech, you are impacting and affecting people's lives. So you want to make sure that it works. It's that simple. And so therefore, scaling something without knowing the impact you're going to have, without the underpinning pedagogy, is an exercise in futility, as far as we're concerned. And actually, you're building a company that will long-term not be sustainable. Should you allow yourself a little more patience, a little more time to prove the fact that your product works and then scale? Yes, of course. And if you look at companies that do that, they have a slower first 18 months, but then they have a faster route to later stages, because they can include the key statistics and the key impact and prove they're working, and that can become genuine parts of their marketing material. If you really can prove your impact, you will be able to market yourselves better than the competition. That's our perspective.
In our case, Innovamat is really investing a lot in the assessment and making sure that they can prove that the methodology works, and that's key, because there's a lot of skepticism in terms of, okay, fine, you have this methodology, but does it really work? How does it compare with standardized tests? So you really have to prove, the testing or the assessment, I think, becomes, if you don't have it, I think it's very difficult to sell the product.
I think the challenge with EdTech is there's that balance between proving product market fit before scaling. And if you're in a B2B environment, or selling to schools or universities, and you'll get those early adopters that are your co-developers, then you're creating for a particular market. And if that's a regulated market, as K-12 education, for instance, is, then taking that global is really, really hard. So getting that balance right of proving product market fit in a small market before you chuck a ton of money at making a risk of going global, that's a really delicate balance. I reposted a very smart article on this on LinkedIn. So if you look at my LinkedIn, you can see this. You know, taking EdTech global is hard, but there's some tricks that you can try to make it a little bit easier. Not my tricks, but take a look at the LinkedIn. You'll see somebody else's post there.
There's another question here.
Thank you. My question is more oriented to Nick, but if anyone else would like to add something, would be great. There are kind of two questions first. Like, first of all, there are like not many European funds investing in LATAM. Why you take, as a fund, take that decision? And secondly, as an early stage fund, you usually invest in teams at the end, usually. So after investing in LATAM startups, which key difference have you seen between European founders and Latin American founders?
Thank you. Yes, we already invest in LATAM. We invested in Kriana, if you're familiar with Diego is an amazing founder. We were the first check into him around about 5.5, 6 years ago. We made a second investment in Matilda, which is run by Jose and Jesus in Mexico. LATAM is at a really interesting demographic tipping point in terms of the disposable income, the amount that the corporates are investing into education. And I think in 3 to 4 years' time, there's going to be a lot more dollars put into workforce education, and then parents also investing into their kids' education. So I think it's a market that's about to happen in quite an interesting way. So that there was very... And then your last question, are there genuine differences between LATAM founders? From a selection perspective, there's nothing different we look for. Yes, we're investing in team. Yes, we're investing in the ability for a founder to be resilient, to understand his market deeply, to have either proven leadership or have the ability to be a great leader. Because it's one thing growing a team to 20 people, but it's another thing running a 200-person team. It's a very different challenge, and you've got to see that learning agility and that humility and that ability to change over time. If there's one trait that maybe Diego and Jose and Jesus have is it's probably the level of ability to take opportunity of the market situation. I'm not going to use the word hustle. I think that's overused. But I will say adaptability is something, and I'm not saying it's LATAM founders, but Diego and Jose and Jesus, they have amazing adaptability, and that served them very well in the changing landscape of LATAM.
Thank you.
Please add.
Amanda, if you want, we can close and start working. Yeah, that was the plan. Okay, we're done. I promised networking. Now you get some. The drinks are downstairs in 17 minutes, so you'll have to behave yourselves until then. But take advantage of this opportunity to meet the investors if you're founding companies and trying to raise money, or you just want to get to know each other. Now's your chance. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.